Book One is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have a special guest. He's the author of the book The Life That Matters Manifesto, no other than Mr. Adam Landrum.
Daniel, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Adam. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, I'm Adam Landrum. I am the author of The Life That Matters Manifesto, and recently I owned an agency, an advertising agency, for over 20 years, and sold that a couple of years ago, and now I'm doing my second half life purpose, which I've always wanted to do.
Certainly, Mr. Adam Landrum. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. So, what inspired you to write The Life That Matters?
Yeah, I mean, really, the Life That Matters manifesto is really about helping people discover and live their purpose, and that's just something that's always been a passion of mine as long as I can remember. So, love the fact that I can do this full time and really live out my purpose doing this.
So, what or was there specific moments or experience in your life that sparked the creation of these 11 principles?
Yeah, this is really the 11 principles is really what I accumulated over my life. And I've always been a student of purpose. And so I think, one of the first books was The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Just as I kept reading those type of books, it just kept building more and more on my knowledge. So I'd say it's a culmination of just being a study of purpose that led me to the 11 principles.
So, Mr. Adam, if we compare the life that matters to Think and Grow Rich, what is the big difference?
Yeah, I mean, Think and Grow Rich is another seminal book. If you can, I love Napoleon Hill's quote: "If you can, what conceive it, believe it, you can achieve it." Did I get that in the right order? Um,
Yes.
yeah, and so just he's pretty much the grandfather of of self help and manifestation and and purpose. So I think you would find a lot of consistency in my book that from the principles from his book.
So, how do you determine which principles were essential to living a life that matters?
I mean, a little bit trial and error from my own life and seeing what works and what doesn't. But then just the core principles that if you read a lot of these books, um, really you start at least I start seeing the theme, and so really with my own practical experience, my own studies, it makes sense. I don't think anyone would argue of the 11 different principles that are in there. I don't think anyone would say, yeah, you know what, you don't need that one to live a life that matters. I think most people would agree that they're pretty solid. Yeah.
Certainly. So, Mr. Adam, what does a life that matters mean to you personally?
What does it mean to me? Well, I think really what people want and what I want is fulfillment in life, right? So there's a lot of talk about purpose, purpose, purpose. And as I wrote the book, it really jumped out to me that, you know what, this is actually really about fulfillment. So these 11 principles really stack upon one another for people and for me to live a life of fulfillment. And, they say whoever they are, right? I actually think it was a nurse in New Zealand who did who did hospice work, and she noticed that the main thing people regretted in life was not living a life true to themselves. And so these 11 principles would lead to a life of living true to yourself, which ultimately would live or lead to a fulfilled life.
Certainly, people, life is too short. So, how did you write this book for, and what do hope they take away from it?
So I'm sorry, was the first how did I write or
Yeah.
who or how?
Who did you write this book for?
Yeah, and what do I hope they'll take away from it? So, who is really people entering their second half of life. So the first half is usually marked by achievement, success, and you could call it midlife or a midlife crisis, and it doesn't have to be the blow up kind where you go blow up your marriage and go get a red sports car, which is of course the cliche. But it can look like and often looks like someone asking themselves, "Is this all there is?" Right? Like even those who are fairly successful, it's like there's got to be more than this. And so that's really who it's for. Those people who are asking those questions, and what I hope they get out of it is just really clarity around what they believe, who they are. They understand their strengths and their talents, and they can just start to own that. And so that number one regret um, of living true to oneself, they won't have that regret because they made the change, they made the switch, and they lived true to themselves for the balance of their second half.
So, Mr. Adam, let's talk about the principles and content. Which of the 11 principles do you find most challenging to live by yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, the most challenging. I mean, I think most people struggle with purpose. So that is one of the 11 principles, and it's actually the first principle. So the whole idea of purpose is, of course, is why do you exist? Why are you here? What are you meant to do? And if you look at nature, whether it's an animal or a thing like a tree or a rock or a river or an ocean, everything does its purpose, right? It doesn't have a choice. Man is the only one. Man is the only thing, only natural thing that has a choice of whether to do its purpose or not. And there are a lot of obstacles for people to know and live their purpose and to own it. And so I think oftentimes that can be the hardest principle for people to commit to.
Beautifully articulated, Mr. Adam. Very well said. So, can you share a story or example where one of these principles had a major impact on someone's life?
Oh yeah, let's see. Let me. It's a great question. Well, certainly, I I have a good friend who lives in Dallas, and he had a good career, um, climbed the corporate ladder, had has a wife and two kids, and he just woke up one day and saying, you know, there's got to be more. And one part of the principles is around vocation, right? And that is vocation is a calling to really do your purpose in a career or job setting. And so he just woke up and realized he was in meetings all day, and he was managing people and tasks, and he wasn't doing what he loved anymore. And what he loved to do was teach, and he loved to help people grow as leaders. And so he just up and quit his job. He had 6 weeks of runway from a financial standpoint, and he had one client, and he just got after it. And within a year, he was making six figures. He was doing what he absolutely loved, and he was living his purpose, his passion, his vocation, and it was completely life changing. And that person is a good friend of mine. I know him well, and we've talked, and I would like to think I had influenced him towards that end. But that's a great example of someone who is living a life that matters.
So, Mr. Adam, how these principles address both personal fulfillment and service to others?
Yeah, well, so great question. Maslow, his hierarchy, at the top of his pyramid was self-actualization. And as the story goes, is he realized later in his life that he got it wrong. That there was actually one more level, and that level was self transcendence. He actually changed his papers to that, but the psychology community didn't make the update. Is how I understand the story goes. So back to your question is that in from service to others is when you when you own who you are, the world wants your purpose. The world wants you to show up fully alive, right? And
Yes.
when you do that, your purpose will be serving others. It will be impacting others, and that's what transcendence is all about. Is you being 100% you to for the really for the greater good and to impact everybody else. So I think that's exactly how it works.
So, which principle do you believe is most relevant in today's world of uncertainty and distraction?
Oh well, huh? Good question. Well, I would say, hmm. Well, the 11th principle is a higher calling. And what I make clear in the book is that like, hey, you don't have to do all 11 principles to live a life that matters. You can choose to do, 8 of them. And but the higher calling I have at the top, and for the people who I know who are living fully alive and are living a life that matters, they have a higher calling of some sort, and they have faith. And so I think in this world of uncertainty and destruction and record high anxiety and depression and just all that is going on, man, having a faith and believing in something bigger than yourself is huge. So I'd probably say the higher calling principle.
Very well said, Mr. Adam. Very well said. So let's talk about practical application. How can readers begin implementing these principles into their daily lives?
Oh yeah, great question. The book is half really half theory and half workbook. So so there's a very it's very pragmatic because what one reason why I wrote it that way was I did not want to just write a theory book that goes sort of in one ear and out the other, and you go on with your life. So the best way to um, apply this is to do the work. And so the workbook at the end is it's actually downloadable on my site at madetomatter.coach. But you can download the workbook and print it out and fill it out as many times as you want, or you can do it on the computer. So that's the most applicable way to use what's in the book.
So, Mr. Adam, what advice do you have for someone struggling to stay committed to living intentionally?
Well, you said the key word is committed, and one is so, and you also said struggling, so I'll address that. One is accountability and support. I think it's huge um, to have someone to do this with, whether that's a community, a group, maybe a friend, and two of you would do the book and go together. Of course, another would be is I coach people, so is having a coach to hold you accountable and do that is another way. But I would also encourage those that who commit to be intentional is like, hey, you know what? Sometimes you're going to fall off the horse, and I encourage you to be okay. Don't be too hard of yourself, and get back on and keep trying. So this isn't something that you do, uh, you, over 6 weeks or 4 weeks. This is really committed to a type of lifestyle, sort of like a diet, that you don't just do a diet and that's it. If for a diet to work, you have to change your eating habits, and it has to be a lifestyle, and that's the approach people would want to take with this book as well.
So, how can someone measure whether they are truly living a life that matters?
Well, it really boils down to integrity, right? And integrity is the definition Does your talk match your walk? And so um, if you say that you believe these things, or you say you're about these things, are you truly doing them? And another thing that I like to say is that every man should have three things. He should know his purpose, he should have a vision, and he should be on a mission. And I think that's what we've lost a lot in this day and age, is that men in particular are no longer on an adventure, or they're not on a quest. And they might have bought they gotten married, and they bought their first home, they got their job, and they've had the kids, and now, like, what's the next adventure? And so one way to to know that if you're living a life that matters is, are you on an adventure? And if you aren't, I'd encourage you to get one. And those are the elements. A mission that is striving towards a bigger vision. That's the adventure that you want to be living, in my opinion.
Totally. Totally agree, Mr. Adam. So, do you recommend any specific practices like journaling or meditation to support living these principles?
I think both of those are would be fantastic, but I would also encourage people, to continue reading. I mean, there's great material out there, and listening to great podcasts just like this one. And just continuing to learn and be curious. But yeah, and then also in the book, not only from a journaling and meditating, I guess is I think knowing your personality. So I talk about the Enneagram a lot, and like being a student of what the Enneagram is about, knowing your strengths, so strengths finders, and understanding how those Clifton strengths, so how those strengths can live. I think it's Gallup strengths now. So, and how those strengths play out. So there are several different things that you could do to continue to be a student of purpose and fulfillment.
So, Mr. Adam, what will be your short term and long term goals in writing?
My short time goals in writing would be to write every day. So, and I would like to get up to 2,500 words a day. I'm not. Some days I do that, but not all days. So that'd be my first short term goal. And then from a long term goal, I mean, I'd love to be on and I'm not just throwing this out there, but I would like to be a New York Times bestselling author one day, and that's really it's my intent that I'll write a book good enough to do that. And who knows? This may be the book. It may not be the book. It might be my next book. But those are my goals in writing. And really, I would like to help and reach as many people as possible live their purpose. That's ultimately what my vision is to make purpose accessible. And so I hope that's what my books do.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Adam, and thank you for your advice. And I hope sooner or later you will be my featured author of the month because I'm featuring either a best selling or award winning author, just like my featured author of the month of March, Miss Angela Henry. Please do listen to our 4 episodes this March. So let's talk about the impact and legacy. What kind of transformation do you hope readers experience after reading this book?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any bigger gift that you can give someone than to get clarity around their purpose. And then also, and on the flip side of purpose, right, is vision. So, I absolutely love it when I'm coaching someone, and not only do they recognize their purpose, but then they get the vision and they see it and they get excited, and it's like a whole new world for them, and possibilities. So that's what I hope they experience.
Certainly. So, how does living a life that matters influence how we treat others and our communities?
Well, I mean, a big part of a life that matters is also values. So that's one of the 11 principles in living by values. And certainly, values are typically altruistic, right? And are outward focus and serving for others. But I think I think ultimately is I'm just going back to the fully alive quote. John Eldred said it in Wild at Heart, but he actually quoted someone else. I don't remember exactly who it was, but it says the world doesn't need. Um, I'm going to butcher the quote. The world doesn't need you to solve a problem. What the world needs is you to fully come alive, right? And so that's the point that I want to get across to people is like we're so focused about impact and we're so focused about man, what are you doing to help people? What I think the biggest thing you can do, and actually one of my chapters is permission to be selfish. One of the things you can do is be you,
Yes.
and bring your gifts to your community, bring your gifts to the world. That's how you can help people. So it's really a win-win approach.
Certainly. Totally agree, Mr. Adam. So, how has writing this book changed your own perspective on life and purpose?
Oh man, I mean, writing's amazing. It's an amazing magical process that when you write, you think, and it changes your point of view. So it's made me writing has made me less dogmatic. It's made me more curious. I've changed. I've changed beliefs because of an act of writing, and so it's really challenging when you sit down to, in particular, to write a book, and you have to express and put out to the world what you believe. It makes you think twice to make sure what you believe is what you really believe. So, a lot of research to validate or invalidate those beliefs certainly happened along the way, and it's just a wonderful process. So it can get somewhat addicting once you get going.
Certainly. So, Mr. Adam, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Mental Health 101, in its first season, people, first season with Mr. Jim Smith. Please do listen to our latest episode. We're talking about, of course, mental health awareness. So please do listen, Mental Health 101, wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Adam, what's the one message or call to action you hope readers never forget?
Oh well, yeah, I would say I, I guess that'd be encouragement. Is I would say you're a masterpiece. And I personally believe that you were made for a purpose and you were made to matter. And I hope that you will do whatever it takes to figure out what that is, and then courageously 100% go live it. So, and so one way, of course, you can do, my call to action would be, you could start by going to Amazon and buying the book and starting your journey there. So, and
Definitely.
yeah, I think it would be great help to you.
Mr. Adam Landrum, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. And we are looking forward for more and more and more empowering books like this. So can you please invite our listeners to support your books as well as your upcoming book?
Oh yeah. So I again I just through Amazon would be great, but you can visit me at my site at made to matter.coach. That's made to matter.coach. And there's a newsletter sign up there that I'd love for you to sign up. And I will announce in the near future more about my second book.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Adam Landrum because if you support him, as I said, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Adam, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, Daniel, thank you. I appreciate it.
More to come, people. See you soon.